Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles, and for today's viewing entertainment we have a pair of KV2 replays, because it doesn't matter where you are in the world, somewhere it's always KV2o'Clock. Our first KV2 extravaganza comes courtesy of Gianni22 here, although technically it's not really about the fact that he's in a KV2, that's really just kind of incidental. Although he does have a fairly good game, but it's certainly nothing legendary, not by KV2 standards. I mean, the fact that he does as well as he does in a tier 8 battle in his tier 6 Soviet heavy tank is fairly good. But that by itself probably isn't going to surprise anybody. I mean, that's kind of what the KV2's famous for. It laughs in the face of the matchmaker. The reason I'm including this battle in today's double replay feature is because Gianni22's game in the KV2 just purely by coincidence happens to showcase both the best and the worst of the World of Tanks player community. Let's start with the worst. If you have a look down at the bottom right corner of the minimap here, I'll expand it for you, you will notice that there's a very suspicious looking platoon. Platoon number 2 on the team, consisting of a VK3001D medium tank and an AMX 178B French armoured car, are about as far away from the action as they can possibly be while still being on the same map. In fact, they get awfully up close and personal with the AMX-13F3, the only artillery on the team. And I did in fact miss this the first time I was watching, because Gianni here was busy doing KV2 things to the ELC even on the enemy team, but if you have a look at the battle messages above the minimap, you will see that the VK pushed the artillery to his death off a cliff, and presumably while assisting him, the AMX 178B fell to his death as well. So we're already 3 tanks down, only one of them to enemy fire, thanks to those two utter arseholes. Yep, this is in fact one of those matches. It doesn't happen very often, but it happens often enough to be intensely annoying. Just when you think you're playing a nice straightforward, reasonably fair and balanced game of 15 versus 15 tanks, you find out that thanks to the combined actions of a pair of utter arseholes on your team, you're actually fighting 13 versus 17. Meanwhile, Gianni takes his first hit of the game, and of course it's gold ammunition from the AMX M445 up there, but well, you know, you have to take into consideration the fact that he's locked into a life or death struggle with a pair of tier 6 medium tanks, so clearly he needs all the penetration he can get. Having missed his second shot at the AMX M4, Gianni is about to find himself in a little bit of a pickle, because he appears to have seriously upset this guy after having the temerity to not immediately burst into flames and explode after the AMX emptied his pockets at him. I mean, damn it. That guy paid good money for this ammunition. Why are you still alive? Realising that 212mm of penetration is clearly not enough to deal with the KV2's 76mm of side armour, the AMX empties his pockets into Gianni's tank again, and now Gianni's in serious trouble, except here comes today's hero. The Chrysler. Look at this. Deliberately blocking the AMX M4. He's not even attempting to angle his armour to protect himself. He's all about saving Gianni. What an absolute rock star that guy was. Gianni's even able to get the kill. There you go, keep the change. Buy yourself some skill with it. but how awesome was that Chrysler? Let's be honest here. I think most of us would probably be forced to admit that if we'd been in the situation of that Chrysler, we would have probably seen that as an opportunity to kill the AMX M4 while he was busy kicking the KV2 to death. Certainly wouldn't have seen it as an opportunity to take some unnecessary damage in order to keep a KV2 alive. And I've been around the internet long enough to understand that many of you are probably sitting there thinking, well, okay, you know, the Chrysler's a good guy, but he did take a lot of unnecessary damage there just to keep a low health tier 6 tank alive. The Chrysler's a top tier heavy tank, a very tough top tier heavy tank. He might have needed that health later on in this match. While I'm sure we can all admire what he did to help the teammate out, maybe if he'd been taking the longer view, it would have been better for the team overall rather than just for one individual teammate if he'd preserved his health and saved it, because right now the team are actually losing. And the Chrysler could probably, well, he could probably have done without taking that hit from the AMX M4. And yeah, there's probably a certain amount of truth in that as well. And, well, unfortunately, most of the time I'd have to admit, yeah, you'd probably be right. Just not today, because he didn't save any old Tier 6 tank. He saved the KV2. The KV2, which admittedly is about to become the unwelcome recipient of a potentially fatal dose of surprise butt sex at the hands of an SU-122-44 there. Although not quite as unwelcome as the 152mm high explosive enema that he's about to receive in return. So that's one very dangerous Tier 7 premium Russian tank destroyer that's no longer free to roam around the battlefield and potentially deliver surprise butt sex to the Chrysler, because the Chrysler kept Gianni's KV2 alive when he didn't really need to. And that's not all, because there's also an enemy Cromwell B, anxious to be the next one to attempt to deliver a spot of surprise butt sex to the Chrysler over there. However, thanks to the Chrysler keeping Gianni alive, he became the recipient rather than the delivery man. And as we all know, where surprise butt sex is concerned, it's better to give than to receive. So, a reasonable gain for Gianni in the KV2, but really only made possible, and the victory arguably only made possible by the sacrifice made by the guy that we really have to give it up to in this battle, Arctic Hunter in the Chrysler. Right, well, that's quite enough happy-clappy, touchy-feely, lovey-dovey New Age bullshit for one day. I'm sure we've all got nice, warm, fuzzy feelings in the pits of our stomachs right now, but we came here to see KV2s blowing shit up. Well, you're not going to go away disappointed. Because, luckily for all of you bloodthirsty people, Zalexis sent this one in. It's the KV2. It's top tier, it's assault mode, which means that he only has 10 minutes to dispose of as many victims as possible with the 152mm derp gun on this most Soviet of Soviet tanks. And since I'm coming down with a bit of a cold, which you may have noticed by the sound of my voice, I think I'm going to turn the rest of this video over to some musical accompaniment. So, maestro, music please. Ladies and gentlemen, take your seats and enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, when you absolutely definitely have to ruin the day of every single tank on the enemy team, regardless of matchmaking spread, KV2, except no substitutes. In closing today's video, I think it's only appropriate that I'll leave you with a little screenshot that I managed to grab from the World of Tanks wiki page on April Fool's Day. Now, I don't know if the date was significant, but it's worth a good laugh anyway. So for those of you who perhaps missed it when I posted it the other day on Twitter and Facebook, here it is. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.